Like every dog out there, my favorite show of all time would have to be American Dad. It's the best damn show, like in the entire universe, in my humble opinion. Before I diverge into the details regarding my love for American Dad, I would like to know you the truth that with your permission, my name is Bloom, and I am the bookkeeper in this smelly gang of dogs in Oakton City, known as Backstreet Dogs Gang. Any good dog gang is a bookkeeper, and the gang needs me to check over the accounts for our dog biscuit dealings. Our gang operates a smelly junkyard just south of Bunker Street, and we pretty much just take over the junkyard from a flock of seagulls. I guess how I should know I go over some members of the Backstreet Dog Gang. First of all, there's Tramp, a wonderful leader of the Tramp the Stray who was referred to back in 1997, when he was working as assassin for Atlanta Corporation. They do anything for prime real estate. And yes, and by the way, sorry about that. I was so busy trying to clean my reading glasses, because all dogs grow a pair of reading glasses. Don't ya know? Tramp is like a man, or rather, yes, a dog to be exact. Such as the second command to our esteemed leader, the boss. Yes, seriously, our leader has no real name, so his real name is leaked into Reddit a few years back. But the Reddit post was quickly taken down after the Redditor got her hands on some prenup dog biscuits. Wink. There was also rumors swirling around Oakton that Tramp is actually an undercover police informant, but I highly doubt that it's true. Then yet again, did you see how nervous Tramp all got at the big meeting at the Purple Otter once the boss started talking about what all happened to the rats? I wonder what the story behind that. Anyways, the Butcher Bulldog is our leader enforcer. He is really into stupid bulldog who can't even speak correct sentences. Butcher is also seriously addicted to Alaids like a very good bulldog, but he often steals food from the parking lot of Aldi's, and just to make things matters worse and sick to my little doggy stomach, it does. There's Vera, who is freaking boring, and that I won't bother explaining everything about her, since she won't appear at any point of this tale. Seriously, Vera is so boring that the boss attempted to send her to Empire Bay to work for Alberto Clementine, who had quite a reputation for hiring boring people, who came into the city of boring, if you catch my drift, bucko. The Backstreet Dogs' main business is dealing dog business from the pounds into the streets that are less fortunate dogs. We make a real mint cornering the poor puppies out of their hand and hard-earned millions. It is our job to launder our money with the bitcoins, such as the boss was planning to use funds for a full brand of freeway up near Grant Pass. A massive scam, so massive that the boss had gotten support from every gang in the city, almost notably from the Molinar crime family. However, the Molinars refuse to provide people with support unless we have killed an incredibly important senior who has been living in Oakton for all of his holidays. The senior was also a really annoying bird, who was just a soggy old stock for a beak. Now, he used to be a sports commander in the Mardid some years ago, until he was eventually fired around 2004, doing himself a neck hole. Now, this last said it could be even better. Oh, speaking of annoying birds, our gang is regularly monitored by a really annoying crow named Peckflex. Peckflex used to live in the countryside, but after the Trinornis Teddy took over control, he flew all the way to Oaktown City. Peck deserves a sort of a narrator for our lives. He had also been into imaginary audiences from everything we do. He's quite an asshole, that Peckflex is, but he never offers to help us with our problems. Though granted, Peck did once help us save from our doggy friends from a local dog food factory. Peck had snuck up behind the factory late one night. Upon seeing one of his guards punching a number to the code machine, upon seeing the code, Peckflex proclaimed, that's supposed to be a secret number. It's just a simple mathematical equation. He then proceeds to enter the code, allowing for our dear friends to escape the dog pound. But before you go off saying that Peck is just a great crow for doing such a hard-worthy task, you may please bear in mind that little fella had an ample opportunity that had the dog nap her pups. He had never bothered to take the opportunity. I certainly hope that one day Peckflex gets run over by a truck. Anyway, going back to what I said earlier about the bird sinner, how very surprisingly, The boss was more than willing to assassinate the bird and began pulling up arrangements to kill the senator while he was delivering an incredibly boring speech to Octane City. Annual Easter Parade isn't an annual as it only happens once every 6.5 years, but to be quiet yet for my bucko at this point remains some regardless. There was indeed no matter what it was. The night of performing the job, the boss demanded that we all sat down in the middle of the junkyard to watch American Dad episode that Butcher had managed to steal from the truck belonging to his Blue Jay Mohawk Avenue. And yes, the Backstreet Dog Gang is also heavily involved with the sales of pirated DVDs. We all provided these pirated DVDs from our contacts in Germany. Now, in spite of us receiving numerous treats from the past Big Smile Lee not to sell pirated DVDs, we continue to take part of the business. Can you imagine the sheer profits that to be made from selling pirated DVDs? Imagine the grocery bills. Every single franc we make goes towards the building that brand new freeway. We never actually paid for our work, as well as the money we earned converted into bitcoins by the boss who is the grand scheme of the freeway. It's just his way of business works, kid. So business is business, the boss Ben explained to Tramp and I one day, that I love the fact that we call him kid when the boss was only 14 years old. I myself was approaching the age of 20. I had grown a rather dumb old age as I rarely take as much time as I can to managing our accounts. I think the boss realizes that he's far too slow into allowing any more younger dogs like Butcher and Vera to take them in the jobs, so once I would have done. And yes, that was, Now in regards to the DVD of American Dad. The boss claimed that the DVD contained a super special episode of the series that was never supposed to be aired. Well, how do you have it then? I asked curiously, as the dogs tend to, well, you know. What matters is before you're old hag, the boss responded. Then he continued with, we need to watch this DVD before Big Smile Lee finds out. And sends his crew after us. Oh, good grief, you stole it from Lee? I thought you said Butcher got it from the Blue Jay run over Mohawk. I was then caught off as boss forced me to put the disc in by a nearby Xbox 360. You're probably wondering why if we throw away such a perfectly good functioning Xbox 360. Well, I wouldn't know. That damn girl Peck Fleck was just flexing and watching the entire your exchange take place on sitting on top of a nearby lamppost. Peck was smiling silently and laughing to himself as he said, yeah, that's the way I imagine it. He then said, because of the old Peck has a thing for Xbox 360s. Now, given that the DVD was an official licensed DVD cover, it was not very good. In fact, the cover just had a dodgy picture of Smith family drawn on it, and it looked so bloody horrible that it had been drawn in salad cream. Also, it was super sticky. It got stuck to my paws. I had to be very careful while handling this damn DVD, so I didn't get sticky salad cream on my damn glasses. Well, that's certainly a whole lot of damn, isn't it, my bucko? Oh, yes, indeed. The disc, on the other hand, was completely blank. However, if you were to zoom in by over 9,000, you would see a picture of Eric Hartman. Eric Hartman was the host of an acclaimed show Boomerang. This was until Eric laughed at an incredibly dangerous man named Valar. Valar looked very much like a street mug, but he looked and sounded like Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse fisted a cow, you know. Eric just laughed so hard that he couldn't even realize the man of the audience, who had suffered the same vocal problems as Valar did, had in connections with any bond of comparison. And such as, he was able to get Eric Hartman fired. Eric got his own back of his show, but however, he managed to land a job at a local radio station, where he started his very own radio show entitled DJ Boomerang. He plays the exact same song every single show. In this song, I'm Driving in My Car by Macca and the Bulldogs. Also, Eric has grown very intolerant over his later years. He had developed something that is hatred towards people that sound like Mickey Mouse. I guess the audience with Sonny Cuckoo Bird is out of the question then, isn't it? Enough of that, thank you. Let's actually get to the episode of American Dad. The DVD caused the Xbox to start shaking violently and smoke started to come out of the console. The controller then shook rather violently in my paws. I'll try to save that for later. Anyways, the DVD then started off by showing a brief video which had the man thanking me for purchasing the DVD. By purchasing this DVD, you are supporting the UK film and television industry. He would also have continued, not been for the big huge letters falling from the sky. The letters then made out of the words thank you. However, the words ended up falling on top of a man, crushing him to death in the process. I started sobbing violently. I took off my reading glasses in order to give him a brief swipe with my paw, which caused the boss to glare at me for a brief moment. And with that being said, the episode of American Dad had finally begun to play at that point. I paused the episode briefly to ask the boss what it was about. According to the boss, the episode was about Stan Smith finding out that his boss in CIA, Avery Bullock, is an international super criminal who must be silenced. Stan has been ordered by the CIA to take Bullock down and take him down to Chinatown. I hope Stan would not succeed in killing Bullock, as he was my favorite character in the show. I had met Patrick Stewart many months ago, but he was very rude and never responded to my questions about American Dad by rubbing his temple for a good 5 hours. Believe me, I never left Remy, and I never did. Then I proceeded to unpause the episode. The theme song wasn't quite right. First of all, Stan's voice was just sound auto-tuned. His voice had been, so much so that I honestly made him sound like Robin from the Green Duck, who likes digital style. Digital style! Also, Stan was very fat, and during the part of the song where he opens up his bedroom window and end up making the entire window break off the humongous belly, during that scene, Stan also appears in the living room, about to say goodbye to his family before heading off to work for other things began to go wrong. First of all, Francine was replaced by Colonel Dodo, who gave Stan a pipe for some reason. Steve's head was shaped like a blank of wood, and during that part, Haley sticks a picture of the peace sign on Stan's back and ended up causing Stan to scream in pain as the picture had toxic waste all over it. It didn't seem to affect Stan as much as the screen eventually cut to the show. Just getting inside his SUV. Oh boy, swell, Stan said, was cut off by Roger, appeared to be dressed up as General Asquith. Good morning, USA, Roger finished, as Stan ended up crashing his SUV into a nearby Jack-in-the-Box. Millions lost their lives due to the accident, but there is no time for that now. The episode started with Stan standing in line in the canteen at the CIA building, waiting to get a prune muffin or something. Avery Bullock was at the front chatting up with Agent Duper. Bullock was going on and on about how he was going to promote Agent Duper in the second of command of the entire CIA. He had intentionally intended to give his promotion to Stan, but Stan had since lost the favor of Bullock, so he had opted to give the promotion over to Stan's rival Duper. Not wanting to lose his chance in getting the promotion, Stan stood up on one of the tables of the canteen and started to sing into his food tray. Glorious food, food, glorious food, Stan sang, but sadly neither the Bullocks or the rest of his co-workers. Then they saw the humorous in the situation. Smith, Bullock yelled at the top of his lungs as he continued with, leave the comedy to the bears. Get down there or do whatever job Agent Duper tells you what to do. I should also mention while leaving the canteen, Bullock smiled evilly due to himself foreshadowing. The episode then showed a brief montage of Stan being forced to carry out several embarrassing jobs like cleaning the toilets, making dinner for Mr. Mole, and there was even a bit of musical number which featured Dick Reynolds singing about how Stan should marry Mole. Stan had no idea how to respond, and he would left to fight the star on the Yelp. That evening, Stan was shown mopping the floors of the CIA building, where he overheard Bullock in his office on a Skype call. Wanting to gain any favor, his boss earned back his chance of getting a promotion. Stan then decided to impress his boss by mopping his skills. However, upon reaching the door to Bullock's office, Stan stuck his disgusting ear on the door to listen to what Bullock was talking about. He couldn't believe what he could hear, and neither could I. It just made doggy ears itch. I scratched him with my back paws, and the episode then cut to show Bullock's on a Skype call with Dr. Hens. And before you get excited, no, it was not Dr. Hens Smurf from Phoenix and Ferb. No, it was actually Dr. Hens, the owner of the Hens Baked Beans Company, the creator of Smeltic, but that's another story entirely. Bullock took another sip from the coffee, shaped like a cliffs of a Dover, and he asked Dr. Hens, so is this doomsday machine near completion, Doctor? Oh, it's in completion, Mon. And you got me the payment, the thing? Dr. Hinton said, as Bullock pulled out a large brown bag from his ear. Then he placed the bag onto his desk and opened it up, revealing it to be filled with millions of green dollar bills. And that's just interest, Bullock said, and then he pulled out another bag from his ear containing more sizes of blue diamonds looking things. Me like things, Dr. Hinz proclaimed happily. Basically, Bullock and Hinz planned to use the Hinz Doomsday Machine, what looked like a regular old super maker, to destroy the world. Bullock and Hinz would be protected by hiding in their escape pod. If they tried to escape and fly into space, they would run into the effects of explosion that had worn off. Bullock would then calm down the control to the now destroyed Earth, and then they would name it after himself. Once in control of the planet, Bullock would set off another taking control of the entire solar system, and wanted to get back at the world for all the hardships he faced over the years. Dr. Hinz had agreed to help Bullock in his business, as he was planning on opening a Baked Beans theme park on Bullock's new plant. Isn't that swell? And at that moment, Stan ended up making a big old mistake when he accidentally let out a massive fart. Upon hearing this, Bullock got up from his desk, carrying a large shotgun, and he asked, "Is that you, Smith?" Thinking quickly, Stan ran out of the CAA building before Bullock even made his way out of the office. Upon getting out of his office, Bullock saw that there was no one there. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, it must have been my imagination." Then he proceeded to head back to his office, farting violently as he did so. Outside of the CAA building, Stan got into his SUV and began driving upwards Duper's house. Stan knocked over the front door of Duper's house at least 546 times before the door finally opened to reveal George Washington-looking butler, and he claimed to be Duper's best friend and only friend, really. "Can I help you?" the butler asked Stan. The butler did not look very old. He sounded like if he was around 150 years old. As much so that it of him entirely wanted to get his damn words out. He was then very sneal, and then he started laughing like a piece of rotten Lancaster gum, which had stuck to Stan's shoe. "You've tried Lancaster gum? Well, it'll make your teeth fall out, and then apprenticeship at the Northwestern Medical School." Stan then proceeded to explain what the transpired CAA with Bullock, which had caused the butler to proclaim, "You had better come in." Stan was allowed to be in the household, where he proceeded to explain his story over to Duper. It turns out that Duper was in the house the entire time, but he had just refused to answer the door, as quite frankly, he was quite a lazy for that ancient Duper. The following next day at work, Stan was shown bored, sitting at front of the boring board which Duper had discussed what to do with Bullock and Dr. Hinz. However, none of the CAI agents were shown into the meeting room, and have ever been on the show before. They were all live-action people for some reason, and Duper then explained that Bullock and Dr. Hinz would need to be silenced. I found it rather odd. Duper never bothered questioning Stan whenever he had any proof that Bullock and Hinz were building such a doomsday machine. But as a dog, I feel it would be unwise for me to make such remarks. Duper started off by the board by saying, "I suppose we could fire him. We'll just give him 3 months' notice." And one of Stan's co-workers named Peter Naupel said that caused everyone in the room, including Stan, to groan heavily into their handkerchiefs. "Nonsense!" Duper cried out, tippy of the top of Duper's lungs. Then he said, "We will kill Bullock and his Jamaican friend, but who will pray that this will be issue of the task of killing our former esteemed leader?" And for some reason, the show did some random cutaway that showed Stan and the rest of the CAA on stage, dancing with some frogs that were wearing top hats. This isn't Family Guy, this is American Dad. They don't do cutaways. During the cutaway, Stan ended up tripping off the stage and fell into a deep body of water that was a sea turtle latched onto its legs with its mouth. The sea turtle then proceeds to drag Stan below the depths. The sea turtle's mate, I don't quite know why about the cutaway, but somehow convinced Duper that Stan Smith was the one who could kill Bullock. After all, he was the one who discovered Bullock's betrayal. "I can't do this," Stan cried. However, Duper was able to get Stan to agree to the hit after promising that he would become the new head of the CAA if he was able to successfully pull off the hit. "Nope, I won't want that," Stan said rather quickly, as Duper responded with, "If you do, I'll sing brick by brick." Of course, Duper then started singing brick by brick, talk my talk, no matter how tall, no matter how you thin. The screen then cuts to black as a sick picture of Stan came on screen. He was dressed up in my local washing machine dealer. That's just sick. It was so bad that it actually caused the butcher to run out from the junkyard in fear. He ran all the way to Aldi's, Peck, meanwhile, was busy watching an episode with us remarked, "Really, Butcher wasn't the smartest one. No, wasn't you, birdhole. This episode was breaking me." Then the episode then cuts to a horrid clip which featured Rap Rat dancing around inside the recording studio that had been decorated what looked to be a huge block of cheese. All the people was dancing looked like dodgy BBC extras were so desperate to get their break. "He's a rap and he's a boss," a male voice could be heard saying in the background by overly serious tone as Rap Rat danced like a madman, or rather mad rat. How delightfully Yorkshire tea. There was also another clip that would feature Squidward and Larry the Lobster taking part of the last-minute Christmas shopping. After finishing up their shopping, Larry explained that he needed to head back to his lobster crib for a protein shake. Well, as you can see, old Larry was addicted to those damn protein shakes, and like for some Richard bag, it was just as sad as, well, Aunt May would say. Squidward then proceeded to throw in his stormint of insults towards Larry regarding his love for protein shakes. This caused Larry to lose his crap and became redder as usual and started to beat the snot out of Squidward. "Serves you right, Squidward. Don't you insult a lobster's love for protein shake. It's just not done that way. It's so unseemly." After those two damn clips ended, the episode came back to show Stan and Roger sitting on Stan's USV outside of the Bullock's house. Roger was dressed up like a stereotypical Mexican costume, whilst Stan was dressed up as a Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. Roger had agreed to help Stan with killing Bullock, as he believed that with Bullock dead, he would finally be allowed to walk outside without having to wear a mask in disguise again. Stan had got out from the SUV, not bothering to lock the door, even though he did own laundromats as he did at work. Those damn laundry bills set up eat a lot of dough, if you know what I mean. In my case, the pair snuck up on their way inside the mansion, while with Stan cutting through the gate and using his chin as a hacksaw. Stan and Roger made their way through Bullock's large and expansive garden, which distracted not only the guards on duty, but by getting him by Mike Myers' The Cat in the Hat on Blu-ray. Now, how thoughtful, I must say. The pair then crept their way inside the house as Bullock had forgotten to lock the door. Why don't people lock their doors? They don't know they could be owned millions of franc-cents, you know? Stan and Roger then crawled back through the way they came in the house until they had reached the living room and discovered the small blue book sitting on top of the bookshelf. Stan lifted Roger towards the bookshelf in order to have a little peek inside the book. "Come on, Roger, hurry up," Stan whined as Roger began scanning through the book. The book then contained a series of pictures that had drawn by Kotal Dodo and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson? How could that be anything political statement, I ask you? It's madness. Eventually, Roger reached the middle of the book and featured the list of names with all the numbers. It was a payroll. The book then revealed the CIA agents who were getting paid by Bullock to help constructing the machine. To Roger and Stan's horror, Duper and Dick were both in the payroll with the big money too. Suddenly, the door to the living room was kicked open as Bullock's guards with Wooly and Worf appeared in the cutscene just to confront the pair. Wooly and Worf were mascots in the Woolworths clan, and of course a popular chain in the stores in the United Kingdom, were discontinued in 2009 for the lack of sales. The company was then ridiculed with its in-compliments mascots, Wooly and Worf. Wooly and Worf were also very dumb, and they always spend lots of money on hiring celebrities to star in their adverts. Well, not like the known celebrities, however. I am talking about people like George Lucas lookalike, and despite him being a lookalike, the duo was still not changed. $2 million for them to star in their adverts. Wooly was proper dumb. Whenever Worf assigned him to get something for the Woolworths, he'd straight up come back with the wrong thing. One time Wooly was sent to get something to eat from the Woolworths, but he ended up coming back with some lights. They ended up ruining Worf's relationship, and actress Kelly Osbourne, Worf was in the plan of proposing to them even though the pair had been barely trimmed out with a turkey yet. He had spent long afternoons looking on Amazon and the official Woolworths website for the correct ring, but sadly it was not meant what it was meant to be. The pair were also infamous for their terrible business decisions, and this caused in them a scandal known as the Big Red Book Scandal. The Big Red Book Scandal was the best book that was launched by Woolworths in 2007. Wooly and Woolworth claimed that the book had around 660 pages and over 6,000 things to buy. However, in reality, the book only contained around 659 pages, and there were only around 5999 things to buy. The book was also blue and not red, which causes anyone to put it on stores on the shelves to vomit out their intestines. A court case was eventually held. During the proper, the confessed of during the plan how to use the book to embolize the money from the British government in order to build their very own house, which was made out of wood for keeping it dry when it's raining. The court battle ended up costing the pair a great deal of dosh. This is what caused the downfall of Woolworths. And 2 years later, the company was forced to close its doors, and it was known as the FBN, and of looking into no matter Wolf and Wolof, who had been involved in dealing with heroin. Now, in the sold pounds to the Empire Bay, treads of the Empire Bay turns this make him a killing. But Wooly remained to be the wiser one, and Worf had always been warned not to get involved in drugs, and when he was dealing with them the entire time, he was also never confined to anything as sheep friend. Back to the episode, Stan and Roger were able to avoid the wrath of Wooly and Worf by offering to buy them lunch. "Let's head down to Woolworths and get us something to eat," Worf commanded. Stan and Roger then drove down to Woolworths, where they found a tin of curry-fried beans. However, they became distracted when they noticed that Darth Vader was selling free samples of orange juice. They decided to take Darth Vader back to Bullock's house in order to get back at the pair for their actions during the Big Red Book scandal. Those bastards prepared to die, and for lunch, Darth Vader said, as he planned on making Wooly and Worf some beans and toast. Stan and Roger then proceeded to make their leave. While driving back home, while noticed that Bullock was in front of them in their car, they decided to kill Bullock right there and there. They ended up getting involved into a high-speed car chase. At the point, Roger stuck out his head out of the window and shot a bullet at the car, but Bullock managed to duck out of the way just in time. Upon seeing the bullet-stained windshield, Bullock smiled as a very smug smile as he proceeded to then cross the train track. Stan and Roger attempt to do the same thing, but they ended up getting rammed over to one side by a train. Stan got out from his car holding his chest in pain and said, "Oh, my lucky little Dickens." Well, that certainly would have been rather out of the character for old Stan Smith, but whatever, it will bite it like a grapevine. At the end, we'll see Company Panic, which contains and takes place in the day after the attempt to hit on Bullock. Stan and Roger were shown lazing around with a tea towel to the rest of Smith family. Francine was once again replaced, this time not only with Colonel Dodo, but instead replaced with the scary-looking teapot named Uncle Teapot. Bullock was then speaking with Duper about something, and the rest of the CIA agents were just setting up the stage for Bullock and the new unveil of the invention. According to the Blue Book from earlier, today was the day that Bullock intended by using his Doomsday Machine. It was also had nothing to do from here on out. Now, Dr. Hens did not appear on the episode as a result of him saving the public dispute with Bullock over how much effort he put into the role. This is actually why he was replaced with Agent Duper with the scenes 35 and 37. Got that? Okay, yes, that's the way. Where was I? Oh, Stan was already ready to kill Bullock with a gun when he smuggled into the party, stuffing it inside his shirt collar. Rather stupid way to hide a gun, don't you think, Stan? However, Stan was unable to fire the bullets as he was pulled away from the picnic. Dwayne Price, who wished for Stan to meet him someone important, Northwestern Illuminati doctors. Of course, Stan was brought up to another end of the field, where he met up with 4 doctors who were very pleased with him. Finished with his writing exam in only 20 minutes. This kid's a dynamo. Dwayne then proclaimed happily as he ushered Stan towards the 4 Illuminati. Of course, Dr. Brown was then particularly pleased to see Stan. Thought it could be just something that he wants to cut Stan's chin off or add to his collection of chins. During the meeting, Brown then patted Stan's stomach and he said, "Those interviews aren't something of a formality. We just want to get to know you better." However, what a foolish Brown ended up patting Stan's gun, which caused to fire a bullet right at Dwayne's homemade otter sauce. "Oh my God!" Dwayne cried out of the top of his lungs. Seeing that it was now never, Stan got up on his knee and shot a bullet right at Bullock's head. He failed to make the hit as the bullet ended up hitting the Doomsday Machine, which indeed shaped like a soup maker. Stan then closed his eyes and brazened for the impact of the explosion, but it never came. "What happened? I don't understand," Stan said, as Duper began to proceed to burst out a massive Easter egg-themed smelly cake as he proclaimed, "April Fool's, Stanley! April Fools? Stan asked, dumbfounded. And yes, as it turns out, Bullock's plans to destroy the world and the payroll was just one big farce. It turns out Dr. Hens was an old friend of Bullock's, and for some reason, he didn't appear to be at the company picnic, as he was busy attending to some business up at the baked bean factory in the beginning. Stan then inquired to be his promotion, not only for Bullock, that revealed that Stan was going to prison for trying to kill him. And so Stan was then shown getting thrown inside the prison cell. However, the judge didn't look over the case of what seemed to be George Payson, who had a thing for Stan's chin and allowed for Stan to escape justice if he spent 2 whole days in public socks. Stan then begged for the crowd for water, but they responded by throwing a brick at him instead. Meanwhile, Roger and Steve were also dressed as their alter egos, Wheels and their legmans, for spying on Bullock as he made his way inside the Floyd Eagle Sands wig shop, and just had finally made its way towards the Langy Falls. Floyd Eagle Sand was once wrongfully accused of carrying a monster serum that could turn cute little rabbits into purple demons. That was eventually released from Fed's grasp and was forced to move out of Langley Falls as a part of the deal they made with Baru. While in Langley Falls, Eagle Stan never learned his lesson, and he continues to insult bad people. Like for the Bullock being bad, "You're bald, that is very bad," Floyd said as he started rubbing his chin all over Bullock's bald head. According to my sources, this scene has caused a man of Trillion to chop his eyes and even mailed to the lighthouse the bar of Santa Monica. Roger and then Steve plan to expose Sand for lying and being involved in the drug trade, as Roger believes that Sand is into deep in drugs. As all those who truly believe, the episode just ended with no credits, but instead showed a sick clip which featured Claus running for the president. Talk about he planned to turn everyone into fish and chips. That's just one fish sick. I just have to say, I didn't really like this episode. In fact, I despised it. However, I was quickly pulled out of my thoughts as Freddy the Poochie then looked like a dog from the junkyard. We'll call him Freddy for short. "It's time to kill the senator?" Freddy asked as he played the basketball. Yes, the boss yelled at the very top of his lungs as we all began running out of the junkyard towards Town Square, where the senator, who those names was Fleet McBerry, by the way. Oh, buggering Buggerton. Why didn't I mention this before? While running through the streets of Oakton, me and the boys ended up being distracted by a cat. We all started chasing the freaking cat downtown until we eventually caught a nest full of thrown over us with a local dog catcher. I think, well, at least that's what I think briefly, until he revealed himself to be an Oakton City Police sergeant. It turns out my fears of Tramp had been justified. Tramp was a police informant. He had been told the police about our plans to assassinate Fleek McBeat. However, Tramp was either rather stupid or something, and by making his deals with the police, as he failed to make an accountant with the department that he was corrupted. So Tramp was then taken to prison too. Me and the rest of the backstreet dog gangs were put to work inside a dog pound just north of Strawberry. "This is not what I expected," the boss whined as he began to play a music of tic-tac-toe with Freddy and Tramp. The boss used to refuse to believe that Tramp was being an informer, but I know the truth, and for our only hope is getting us out of this was Butcher. But this had ended up backfiring as Butcher was taken to the same pound after he was caught stealing sausages from Aldi's. Butcher was then flown on the floor of the pound and said, "I need to take a dump," and I couldn't. I crudely cut him off by saying, "Yes, that's the way it is. The owners of the pounds were 2 evil Dobermans named Coster and Pollocks, who had forced to lick and stick stickers into cans of dog food." "Talk about it loud," Coster yelled angrily, as we forced inside the lamps as not the rats of the papers who claimed to have one day happened. Coster and Pollocks were very mean and forced to scrub the dishes in Hyrule. One day I'll beat Coster and Pollocks, but so badly that they won't know who they are. This isn't a dream that you could beat a Doberman who will claim that you have your own wife, but you owned the laundromats and you did all the work, didn't ya? Well, reader, didn't ya? Well, that's the way. Okay, not this time. I never really deserved any harshness. To tell you the truth, I was planning on leaving the Backstreet Dog Gang soon anyway. I was planning on retiring and moving to Florida with my twin brother Epen, who had just owned a crocodile park down there. He offered to take me a swing with some work with his official spooks dog. Sadly, it was just not meant to be. It's just very cramped down there at the dog pound, and the entire gang were ushered into the same cell. Even though the dog pound had at least 500 cells, it's disposable. Castor and Pollocks did not even desire to waste a single cell of us, and that just makes us sad as it does. According to Tramp and Butcher, there are just holes underneath the floors of the pound which we could use to make our escape. But I don't know about that. I just don't know, dear reader. I've got to get reading to go and get, dear reader. Castor and Pollocks want me to mail some letters to Santa Claus. I just hope the Muppets won't be in the mail room if you catch my drift. Wink. Also, upon learning what we had just been arrested, Peck Flex bid his goodbye saying to Full Chin, don't have to worry and hurry if we wanted to help those dogs. Then he let out one last final squawk as he left the dog pound, never to be seen again. I last heard that he was working for Dodo, whose name you all know starts with C and ends with a cast as sugar. Sorry, I noticed the dog pound catcher has a sugar mill in the room for some reason. And you're probably wondering how I was able to write this down despite being supposedly trapped in the dog pound. Well, it's mainly due to the change in silicone mask. And yep, that's just my story, and I'm sticking to it. We should never have chased that cat. We should have just stuck to the agenda of killing that incinerator. I just heard from a mouse with a severe nose injury, and Fleet has a demonetization team of the junkyard to convert it into an amusement park. He had got bigger plans than the trees of McFleet beat. That one day we'll raise up against Fleet and corrupt the government, and get our junkyard back. That, however, is sadly a story for another day. Stay another story for another day. Haha, farewell, readers. Please send some fish and chips to the dog pound, would ya? Maybe even a crust of bread. Give me some bread. Oh yes, I'd kill for that. Nice loaf of crusted bread. And that, my little pretties, was American Dad Lost episode To Kill a Mocking Bullock. I guess you could say an American Dad funny pasta written by Matthew Bumford. Thank you so much for the story, Matthew Bumford. This was appreciated. This was an awesome story. I had fun narrating this story. Now, my final thoughts on the story. Alright, so since this one was really long, well, not really long, it was 30 minutes, I'm going to keep the review as short as I possibly can. Overall, I have to say this story was a really funny story. I'm not gonna lie. This story was funny. I did narrate this when Matthew Bumford sent me a link to it. I read it, and I had to read this multiple times because I was bursting out laughing because of how silly it was. Now, just like with Matthew Bumford stories of how I do my reviews, I just basically, do these reviews differently. Instead of me sitting there, pointing out some issues of what's wrong with the story and, how the story can improve and all that, Matthew Bumford's stories, I'm gonna say that I really do enjoy his stories. Now, if you guys know who Matthew Bumford is, most of you should already know, he writes these Lost episode funny pastas. Now, I could definitely say this funny pasta was hilarious, really funny, and well made. Now, I could definitely say this now that I have not seen American Dad in a long time. I think the newer episodes of American Dad is just sounding the same. But this one, I definitely have to say this one was actually quite believable. It was funny too. If they were actually to air this maybe on, American Dad, that would be quite interesting, because this is not completely out of the ordinary for American Dad to do an episode like this. American Dad has done a lot of different things at times when it came to, these episodes. I can imagine American Dad doing an episode like this. This would be honestly really funny. I could honestly see American Dad sitting there and having this episode that was described in this pasta being an actual episode. I could honestly see that happening with American Dad. So I could definitely say I could see that being the case with American Dad. This is actually a believable episode. And with that being the case, I actually really like this story. This one was awesome. It was funny. It was believable, and I can actually picture this as a real American Dad episode. So anyways, as I'm going to keep the review as short as I possibly can, the grammar was really good in detail. Same with the sentence structuring, the paragraph structuring. I love the storyline, and it's just how silly it is. It was just really funny. I love this story, Matthew Bumford. It was awesome. So anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, This is just simply my own personal opinion on this funny pasta. If you happen to disagree with me, that is fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these funny pastas. This is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this funny pasta is getting a 10 out of 10. A 10 out of 10 because it was funny. I can actually picture this as a real American Dad, episode. It was awesome. Really enjoyed it, and it really had a good believability. And I could definitely picture this being a real episode. Now, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this story? Funny pasta. Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell when I upload so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.